All right. I am going to call the Village of Cross Plains Sustainability Committee meeting to order. We'll now do roll call. John Durant,
I'm here.
Steve Douglas,
Here.
Melissa Gavin, not here. Aaron Linus, not here. And Michael Pomakowski is here. The agenda review. I don't know. You can see what's on there pretty much. Going over to the plan stuff. So now, okay. Oh, public comment. We don't have that thing in there. Am I supposed to, do I need to read what the public comment thing is?
You're saying if you have public comment, Michael, or
Well, like in the other meetings,
interviews?
it always says, now is the time for the public to speak. You have 3 minutes. You can't talk about anything that isn't duly noticed on the agenda. I don't have that thing memorized, is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I think it's fine to introduce it because there could be emails requested, sent to me and other things. I'll try to bring you in the loop on all of those when received, but I don't happen to have any tonight.
Okay, yeah, I just know that on these other meetings, it's like a thing that is in there that's red, is all I'm saying. Okay, so it sounds like you have no emails. I don't see anybody else online. Doesn't look like we have any public comments. All right, let's move on to general business. Is there any committee member report outs and updates? Hearing none, I don't think we have any. Okay, discussion and possible approval of the June 6, 2023 Sustainability Committee minutes. Do I have a motion for approval?
Steve motions to approve the June Sustainability Committee meeting minutes.
Okay, do I have a second?
I wasn't really at the meeting, so I don't know if I'm appropriate to second them.
Okay, well, I'll second them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, motion is second. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. All right, the meetings are passed. Okay, so now we're into discussion and possible action on the sustainability plan implementation. At the last meeting, we talked about that school and government benchmarking thing through Focus on Energy that we applied for. Last I spoke to Brian, he said we hadn't heard back if we got that or not. Have you had any updates since then, Brian?
Yeah, so I sent an email to Joe at Focus on Energy earlier this week just to check in, and I let him know that we hadn't heard anything yet, but we did submit an application, and he wasn't able to definitively say that the village will be selected, but he said it looks positive that we will likely be picked, but there hasn't been a decision made yet at this time. So I don't know if it's premature to say that, but maybe he has some insight as to number of applicants. But as soon as I have a definitive answer on that, I will share that with the entire committee.
Okay, sounds great. Hey, it looks like Melissa's joining us here at 6:04. Melissa, we just got that update on the school and government benchmarking thing from Brian. It sounds like it might be happening, but he will let us know when he knows more. Now we are in the update on the Village of Cross Plains Energy Assessment Summary. That went, we put that to the village board, and they kind of looked at it, and we just said we wanted to share it. The board did not take a vote in terms of yeah, pursue these things, but they were just very positive with, like, if these are things you guys want to research and you want to bring them back to the village board for possible funding, etc., what the proposal is, they totally gave the thumbs up on that, but there wasn't like a formal vote to proceed. So, but there was no like don't do it like ideas also. So they were pretty cool with it. It was just kind of like, you guys can do what you want to do. And so, yeah, I kind of sort of asked about if we needed to vote and it just was kind of like, this seemed more informational, but sounds great. Tell us what like what you do. So
I would
that's what.
assume, sorry, Michael, go ahead.
Oh,
I would assume that we would want to come back to them for a vote if we're asking for like a budget allocation for something. Otherwise, they're like, go ahead, try to pursue some grants to pay for these things.
yeah, they're pretty much, yeah, they're like, absolutely. If we can, if we so get motivated to try to do the ultraviolet disinfectant thing and we find some grant and we kind of talk to whoever does that and get an estimate and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, they're going to want to know how much it's going to cost the village and all that stuff. So they just were like, yeah, go for it. And then we'll decide based upon what your research is and external funding, et cetera, et cetera. There wasn't any opposition to doing any of that. And nobody really said anything about, we want you to focus on this, or we want you to focus on that. Now, I know there was just a report that Jerry put out that the board approved, which is like a yearly thing that he does for the water treatment plant. And I noticed when I was reading it, inside of it, there are lines inside of this report, I forget the name of it, that he submits where they actually asked if you've looked into any energy conservation like ideas or et cetera, et cetera. And he just basically listed in there, focus on energy, did a walkthrough and waiting to hear back from the report. So I didn't know that. I have not gotten in touch with him since then, or I know he was at the meeting, so he knows that it came back, but I have no idea if he's read it or if he's like, hey, our digester blower is about ready to go or something, I mean, I don't have any information like that. I had thought about sending him an email and being like, hey, did you get a chance to look at that thing? Did any of those things even sound remotely doable at the water treatment plant? I mean, he would know well better than any of us, so that's an idea. I will put that here on my handy dandy to-do list. I can do that. I will send him an email and ask him if he has had a chance to look at the focus on energy stuff, because I spoke about the treatment plant like at the meeting and he was there, so I know he heard. So I just don't know if he's read it.
That would be great, Michael, because maybe he's got some, he's probably got some insider knowledge on some of this stuff too. But I'm looking down at a quick win though on number 8.
Is that the door one?
Yeah.
I can ask him about that too while I'm at it.
Just say, hey, number 8, I bet you they have everything in house to, for the summer intern to do that like tomorrow.
Well, right. I wonder, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll email him about that too, about the air sealing. Who knows? Who knows what's gonna come back. He might be like, we've tried to do that and the things break in 3 weeks. I mean, I don't know. Who knows what the answer is gonna be.
Yeah, they go in and out of that door 100 times a day, and it's
exactly.
Yeah.
My other fear with that one is that I don't even know where other alternative air sources may be entering that shop other than right now.
And the only fresh air they're getting.
Yeah, we might need to explore adding some air options into there if we really start diving into it, having walked through that building once or twice before.
What is it like in there?
It's I mean, in the winter months when they've got the heater on the roof running to heat the space, and you got welding equipment in there and whatever other machinery that they may be running, testing motors on. And if the door, like the time that I was in there and the doors are closed and stuff, I'm actually like now looking at this item and I'm like, I can't even remember where their air entry, access points are in that. We might actually want to consider something like that, just looking at that. And that might be the source of error, unfortunately, that they have.
Well, that's the
No.
great thing about asking Jerry, right? Because he would
Yeah.
he'd have the on the ground information. So,
Mhm.
Michael, I'm really glad that you are gonna reach out to him.
Yeah, I'll send him an email and
He's probably got some other ideas of areas that we can, target and have a better cost instead of us delving into all the research aspect of every single thing here. He might know just preliminarily speaking what things might cost what.
Yeah.
And that might be the lower hanging fruit that we could attack quicker and get
right.
support for.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, I'll do that. I'll shoot him an email.
I
Michael,
really like these
thank you.
ideas. Is there a way to keep this on our kind of side radar? I just don't want to lose it because there's a lot of good stuff in here. We may have to revisit at some point in time. Is there a tickler we could do at some point? I guess, I mean, hearing from Jerry will be the first big step because he may already have, ideas about 2 or 3 of these. And if that's the case, maybe that's the direction we go. But it's just such good information. I'd hate for it to be like, oh, we did the audit back in 22 or 23 and, it was gone.
Right, right. No, I hear what you're saying.
I guess what I'm wondering about is, Steve, why don't we at least keep it, it's kind of embedded in the sustainability plan because having the audit was one of the things that we said we wanted to do in the sustainability plan. So at the very least, it's got a home there. But if we get approved for this focus on energy program, I think that, some of these things are things that we would work on through that program.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
And just a side note related to that, Melissa, I believe that was the one that application I think you took on sort of
Mhm.
short notice at last meeting, and
Mhm.
we did not get to call out kudos for that because that was you had to do a quick little turnaround. So thank you on behalf of the members.
You're welcome. I did a little bit of work and really it was it was such a short form. So I'm happy that I could bottom line it, but it wasn't too much work and fingers crossed that we get approved so we get some additional help to boost our efficiency work here in the village.
Yep, totally agree.
And
Thanks again.
to share the kudos, Michael, kudos to you for writing up this summary and then presenting it to the village board for
Yeah.
their input. So thank you for both of those things. Much appreciated.
Sure, you're welcome. Yeah, yeah, sure. No problem. I'm, yeah, I, like I say, and like, I don't even know, like, how much people really looked at it. That's sort of the other thing. Like, I never asked that question of the board, they just were kind of like, because they didn't have any questions or anything. It was just presented, and then we just kind of like just kept right on going in the meeting. So there wasn't any like big conversations about items or anything like that. Or so.
But it's part of the record now. I mean, it was like it's got a history that we can refer back to at some point. So
Right, right.
it's important.
Okay, sounds great. So then we kind of have been talking about the progress on the sustainability plan, and in the thing or in the packet, I put that link to the plan. Do people have ideas on the implementation of the plan, or like what are we thinking about implementing the plan? I mean, I don't know if you guys checked out that purchasing policy, if that's something we want to do. It's just something I had in the packet. I just threw it back in. I also just threw the last incantation, the draft of the light ordinance that I had, because I'll be honest, I hadn't looked at it a whole lot, and uh, yeah, and I just reread it, and I was like, oh, okay, there are things in here that I got to figure out if they should still be in here or not. And I kind of fell off the radar because I was waiting on Tucson to update theirs, and it seems like it's just taking them forever. Like they were doing this draft thing, and that came out, and I kind of went through that a little bit, and it didn't really seem like it had a whole bunch of super changes in it. But there's still, I was reading this, I'm like, there's still things in here that are just superfluous, like that need to be taken out. That when you read it, it isn't going to make any sense. So that's kind of where that is. I don't know if anybody checked that out. We still have that grant opportunity stuff that Brian looked at is in here in case people want to delve into looking for grants. And like how we were talking about like Jerry, I mean, and who knows, Jerry might know stuff. Maybe he went to like a sewer treatment plant or water treatment plant convention and they talked all about grants available for water treatment plants. I don't know.
God, I can't
Oh.
believe we missed. I want to go to that convention.
Hey, I was curious about where these last few pages came from. So the IRA write-up, where that came from, and then all of the links preceding this and the page, I guess it's page 28. Where did those come from? What was the impetus behind it? Who supplied them?
I think Brian Mooney did. I think kind of at a meeting or two ago, we sort of asked him to find links for possible grant information. Is that correct, Brian?
Yeah, so this I'm on a couple different email lists and get periodic updates of different things that are being promoted right now and webinars and things like that. So I kind of went back and just scanned through a bunch of the past email blasts about sustainability related grants and try to compile links to each of those that look like they might apply to things that we've either been discussing or things that might be applicable to the Village Hall Police Station project, which is on the horizon. The top of this list, this Dane County Office of Energy, I think was where a good part of these related links came from that I had listed off. So if there was a starting point, I guess I would say check out that Dane County site first, because I believe when I was looking back through these, they had a pretty substantial grouping of some of the available grants offered right now nationwide, along with some of the things that might be more applicable here in Wisconsin.
And
Okay.
you asked about this Inflation Reduction Act, like those
Yeah.
last pages. I think,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, because we were talking about that Dane County Office of Energy and whatever it is, right? It's like, it's the Dane Climate Action. It's that website with that Kathy
Yep.
woman. I forget her
Kathy
last.
Kuntz.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's that because I think I got on an email thing, and when I went out to that website, I think this was actually on that website. Is this
Okay.
where you got it from, Brian?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I can't
Okay.
remember everyone, but I think
yeah,
that,
I think it. Oh, sorry.
no, I think this is where it was located.
Yeah, because I was out at that website reading, and I was like, "Wait, this was in the packet." Like I was like, I'd seen this before somewhere, and took me. I was like, "Oh, so it kind of sounds like if we were really looking for some grants or whatnot, I think that resource, that Dane County, of the Dane County Office of Energy is like kind of might be our first stop shop.
Mhm.
Do you know that woman at all, Melissa? Have you met
Mhm.
her?
I do. Yeah, I know Kathy.
So what do you
Kathy is
think?
a reamp. She's a former reamp member. And I whatever Kathy says, I take to the bank. She's super smart. She's really well connected to this work and to the resources and what she's been doing. Not only has she helped to develop the climate action plan for Dane County, but in her role in Dane County, she's been working to create a network of other municipalities across the state to help them learn from each other on climate initiatives. And most recently, has been helping that network get access to federal dollars. So she's definitely like the right, kind of connector to help us understand. I just wasn't sure where the links came from, so I'm glad to hear that they came from Kathy's shop.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I haven't been out to that website in a little bit. I've been sidetracked on some other stuff, but it's definitely someplace need to go back and revisit. So with that, I mean, what are you guys thinking? Because I'm kind of like, are we looking to implement some things on our plan? Are we looking to try to get, grants for the sewer plant? What things inside of that Google spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Or are there other things? It's kind of like, you know, we I'm kind of like, I just don't know what we need to be doing as a community or as a committee. I'm just kind of like having this meeting. I was like, I don't know what to talk about, or what people are thinking. I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. That's why I emailed you, Melissa. I was like, you got anything? Because this might be a short meeting.
Yeah. Well, here's what I would do. So one thing is, I don't know if John was on when the meeting got started and you guys did updates from committee members, but did John give an update on the Focus on Energy presentation that he and I attended at the library?
No, he
'Cause that
skipped
was
that. He
No,
You
I
skipped
didn't,
skipped
because that was
that.
a long time ago, and
Because that's part of our sustainability plan and part of the implementation. So that's why I asked. So looking at looking at our plan, row 8 or row 9 is promoting the Focus on Energy programs to village residents. So we highlighted that in green. We could say, check, we did that. Although John and I will tell you that we didn't have as many people attend as we would like because John and I were an audience of 2. But that's okay because the program was fantastic and I learned a lot.
I
And I
learned
hope
a
John
lot, and
did too.
I got some good free stuff.
Same.
free stuff. See, I was out of town.
um, so I did want to report out on that. Focus on Energy came out, did about an hour-long presentation, gave sort of a synopsis of what are the programs available through Focus on Energy and what are the programs available now because of the IRA, because of the Inflation Reduction Act, and how might that work out on your taxes. And then let us know about Focus on Energy's program for free stuff. So everybody who is an MG&E customer, I think once a year you can get a free package, and you can choose which package you want, but it's like water heater wrap. Gosh, I don't even remember now, John. What package did you get?
There were
Power strip.
What we got, what we signed up for instantaneously was a package of LED lights, LED light bulbs, LED night lights. I don't know how this one fit into it, but a kitchen faucet aerator.
Oh yeah.
And but the thing that really caught my mind was the smart power strip, which you can plug computers, computer monitors, TVs, all of the things that when you turn them off, they're still on. And it will monitor the decrease in voltage being used, or watts. I don't actually understand the electronics of it.
You're
And
the
it will shut
village
them off
electrician.
completely. And we have a gaming computer that is our test right now to see what happens.
That's
Because
cool.
it's a power sucking computer with more peripherals and huge monitors and all of that stuff. And they're all kind of like energy vultures. And so we're trying it out on that.
Yeah. So I guess one thing that I'd say is that John and I are on the sustainability committee, and we did not, I guess I knew about the program because I've had a couple of those boxes, but I had forgotten. And it occurs to me that there might be something that we can put on the village's website on the sustainability committee, letting them know that they can get free energy saving devices sent to their door from MG&E just because you're an MG&E customer, and it's part of what they have to do as a utility is help residents save money. So that could be, that's like another thing that we can do that's part of our sustainability plan, is to let people know that that's and I'll look for the link and I'll drop it in here. But if we could potentially add that to our sustainability website as resources, that would be very cool.
Yeah, you can get a package of stuff of your choosing. I think there were 4 of them. If I'm recalling correctly, and it resets every January 1st.
Right. I think
That's
out
pretty
on-
awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
We should, I mean, that's maybe even newsworthy, Brian, too. Doesn't the,
For the
like the
newsletter.
front, yeah,
Mhm.
the newsletter, good idea. I was thinking the front page of the village website has like a news banner kind of thing, but you're right. I think newsletter even. Free stuff, people would eat it up.
yeah. I am going to report back. We just put that computer on the power strip about a week and a half ago. And I got a sense of what our electric bill should be, but since we're an all electric house, this hot weather has been really screwing with our electric bill.
Mhm.
But I'm going to try to get a sense of, for a $12 power strip, because that's what it is retail on Amazon. What does it save in a month?
Mhm.
And I'm gonna try to report that back, because my sense is, given that when the other big monstrous gaming computer got an apartment of its own, we saw a rather significant. We saw like a $40 drop in electrical usage.
Dang.
Oh.
And
Wow.
all your solitaire play didn't backfill that.
Oh no, it didn't.
Hey, so thinking about row 9, and then thinking about how when we devised the plan and when we surveyed folks, one thing that didn't exactly make it as a standalone item, but that we noted as a theme was the need for education. And I'm wondering, Brian, about the idea of in the village newsletter, you know how like there's the village president's corner and there's the chief of police's corner in the newsletter. If there might be like a small section in every month, or it's not every month, but in every newsletter, where we can have some kind of update from the sustainability committee. Would that be a terrible idea? It might be an opportunity for us to share the big ideas behind the sustainability plan and then share out some of these resources that we come across.
That might work out. Honestly, let me check with Becky Ward tomorrow and run that by her to see. I don't know that there wouldn't be a way to get that as a permanent fixture in there. The only problem with doing that, we would have to figure out who's going to put it together and then make sure we got, a regular contribution or topic and stuff, because those pop up quick. I'm amazed how fast it seems like I just submitted my newsletter and it's already time for the next newsletter. It's like, wow, I felt like I just finished one. It happens fast. So you only have 1 or 2 meetings before you're getting your next one together.
Yeah. But it could be an item that goes on our regular agenda. If Becky's okay with it, then we can add it to our agenda to figure out what the topic is and who's going to write it.
Sure thing. I can ask her tomorrow and then try to put together a quick email to the group or whatever with whatever she states.
How do folks feel about that? I just threw that out there and Brian said he's going to investigate it. But I mean, is that a terrible idea? It's okay. You can tell me. I'm not chair anymore. So
I like it.
I love it. I like it too. No Mo May would have been a good one, even, leading up to, and then a report after. There's 2 months right there, or 2 quarters, or 2 newsletters. This free stuff, there's another one.
The IRA, how people can take advantage of the IRA to get, solar or whatever.
But that's a great idea to have it be a standing agenda item, and we can just brainstorm. I assume I'm trying to remember how long, like Jay's letter is really long, but we're not doing that, right?
I was thinking like 250 words.
Okay.
500 words max.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. We have to see what Becky comes back and says in terms of size, but I think I don't know if they're limited by pages. Because they don't really print them anymore, so it's all electronic.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't think that not that we would need a whole entire page, but we aren't really limited by oh, it has to be 8 pages because that's what we send to the printer.
Right.
I'm just you get what I'm saying? I'm just kind
Yeah.
of brainstorming we are but she's the one who does all that, so I don't know how she figures out what goes where, or et cetera, et cetera. I just have to see what she says.
Okay. Cool. So Brian, thanks for looking into that. Let
No
us
problem.
know, and I think we could rotate who writes it. Or Michael, you could be, since you're the chair, it could come from you, but we could ghostwrite it or something. But
Yeah.
that would be a great way to communicate a little bit more directly with village residents and let them know about cool opportunities.
Well, definitely, and it would let them know that our committee even exists. Maybe we get some
Right.
public comment,
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be
Yes.
exciting.
kind of just advertising for us also.
Yeah. So Michael, you said you're not sure where to go from here. Can I offer that we all look at that Google Doc and
Yeah,
and have some
I brought it up
conversation?
here. Yeah,
Cool.
I'm looking at it here on my own computer, but yeah, bring it up
Okay.
here on the.
Brian, you want to share it? You want
Yeah, do
me
you
to
want me
do
to just try
screen
clicking
share?
into this and see if
Yeah.
it'll?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
should be able to. Because here's
yeah.
what I'm wondering. We listed them kind of in order of what we felt like was really important. And all of these are really important, but I do want to come back to the solar farm, and I'm curious for folks who have been on the, for the whole ride. Do you remember probably two, maybe 3 years ago, we had somebody from the community join a call to say that he had some land and he was interested in us exploring putting solar panels on his land. He was on Airport Road.
Yes.
Yes.
And whatever happened, was there does anybody know if anybody from the village talked to him, or were we just okay, thanks? And then anybody know if anything came out of that? Because I know
Retired
that
police officer, right?
I think so. And I know
Yeah.
that we explored other lands beyond that. And then we zeroed in on a couple and they didn't work out. But now I'm wondering what about that property? Did anybody know? Did we strike it out for some reason?
I don't know. His name was Jeff Davis, and his
Mhm.
wife Lisa just retired from the police department, right, Brian?
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
she was the clerk, or not the clerk, whatever it was, the office administrator for the police department.
Okay.
She just recently retired. Um, I don't know actually what, because I know Bill, he had came in on a call because I think Bill had reached out to him. And then I don't remember if then he said no, or did golly, did the fella who Bill knew from the solar development company, did he go and check out the land and was not the best?
How would we find out?
Well, I could email Bill and ask him if he remembers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could just
Okay.
send Bill an email and be like, hey, Bill, uh, we had a sustainability committee meeting the other day. Do you remember what happened with Jeff Davis? And was he ever interested in putting a solar farm on his land? And if not, we could just call him or something. I mean, I don't know. We must have a way to get in touch with him. Bill was able to.
Okay. Yeah. Michael, that would be awesome if you could follow up with Bill on that.
Yeah, I'll email Bill and see if he remembers
Okay.
whatever happened with Jeff Davis's land.
Okay.
I was going to actually bring up the same thing, mostly not that specific as what Melissa did, but I'm still constantly amazed that we can't somehow make this work.
Same.
I was
Yeah.
I was driving down by Albany a week and a half ago. Now, Albany is a dinky little town. It's like 1,500 people. And right on the edge of town, they have the Albany Community Solar Farm.
Mhm.
And it's like, if Albany can do it.
Well,
Does
I think
Albany have their own municipal utility?
No, they're Wisconsin Power and Light.
Huh.
They're Alliant Energy.
Hmm. Uh-huh.
Is that
Yeah.
down when we had our last paddle?
Yeah.
Yeah, we drove by that too. It's
Mm.
massive.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
had to have been like 10 acres.
Okay.
there had to have been a reason why he discontinued it, because Bill just wouldn't be like, "Oh, I'm going to give up," because it seemed like, if I remember, he started really pursuing the Brunner farm outside of town
Mm-hmm.
on P going to Pine Bluff. And he'd asked them a few times, and they finally said that they weren't interested in selling the land to the village or leasing it. And if I remember, it sounded like somebody else, I think it would be the possibly the Hartungs, I think, had kind of spoken to the Brunners, is what I think Bill sort of said, that they would be interested in buying that farmland there. Is any of this ringing a bell with anyone?
It is, but it's like I'm having to reach far back into my memory. And I
Because I think, like, behind that farm, if you go over the top of that farm, like, you end up on Hillenbrand Road Street in Cross Plains. If you go over that hill, and I want to say, who is it? James Hartung lives there. His backyard goes up to it, and I think he ended up buying that hill from the Brunners.
Hmm. Wasn't there another discussion about the chunk that's up there by where the water tower is?
that's what I was thinking, Steve. What happened to
Yeah.
that discussion?
I don't know if that family, I don't think it's public, that discussion. I don't know
I
what became of that.
Oh yeah, I don't know if it was like closed session or whatever. I know, I think one of the detrimental factors with that is that there are those, if I remember talking with Bill, is that there are power lines that run like right through the middle.
Yes.
And those
Mhm.
power lines have so much of an easement or right of way or whatever, that like you couldn't build solar panels under it, and it made it like so much of the land then
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
as, that's
Oh,
like, that was like one
okay.
of the last things I remember
Hmm.
telling. See, it's not like privilege or anything. What I'm saying is just like, I think they went up there and they were like, well, if you cut out all the chunk, because I think Bill was just looking at the land and went, oh, it's 15 acres. Well, when you cut out the 80 feet
Yeah.
easement for the power lines, it gets a lot smaller. And it's like you couldn't put the solar powers, under there. They were, there was like a no-go. Plus, I think I don't think they wanted to sell all. Let's say that. Like, I think there was a chunk of land, and this stuff isn't privileged. These are their conversations I had with Bill after meetings or with Jay once, because they had a
Okay.
different spot of land for sale. If you drive up Gill's Way and you hit that circle up at the top of Gill's Way, and that's in the town of Cross Plains. You know what I'm talking about? How
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
goes all the way up.
Yep.
They had Somebody has a property up there where the driveway connects off of that hill, and it's like a really narrow driveway, and then it like opens up to some of that property up there. Like, if somebody wanted to build a house up there, they could, and that was for sale. And so I think when Bill maybe made an offer to purchase that stuff, they were like, oh no, this could be residential. They wanted like 4 times as much as
Yeah.
what it is, because they were, but it's such a weird location that I think they were just waiting until somebody wanted to buy it.
Um, this
It's
is
just
so
funky.
helpful. This
It's
is
just
so
funky.
helpful.
This is just me piecing conversations together of why these things, like, because I've wondered that too. I'm like, what happened to all these options? And I was kind of like, they were thinking they might want to put a house there, and then the easement thing kind of killed it, and then the Brunners didn't want to sell because I think the Hartong said, hey, if you're going to sell your farm, we'll buy it, because that's like what they do.
Yeah. Michael, what about the library? I remember you did such a great job of before the library had what I'm wondering about is like, what's the status with the library's roof? Because before they had the fixes, you said, let's see if we can pay to have an engineer assess what it would take to make that roof able to hold solar panels. But then the library had some renovations and then there was this big leak. And what's up with their roof? Is that a possibility?
Well, I guess the roof is all secured now, and there still might be some issues that I don't know. We haven't got an update on the village board about some of the stuff or whether or not the company backed away, and we just decided not to pay them the rest because there were some things they didn't finish completely with the contract. But the roof isn't leaking, so it's done. And I have that report somewhere that I wrote that talked about what it would cost for a roof. When I contacted some people, this was many years ago. I could dig it out, try to find it. And because the guy in that report kind of gave the same response that the fellow from the energy audit give. Like he was like, the library would be a great place for solar. Like that's like one of the last things in that focus on energy audit.
Yeah.
And he kind of drew some of the same pictures as what the other guy drew on the roof, like in terms of where it would go. It would go on the roof that faces the south side on that corner, and he kind of like, these spots might be good for solar. And that report that I remember talking about in terms of the cost and the return on investment was pretty high, because since we were a government office, we didn't qualify for any of the tax breaks or benefits. It's not like we're like homeowners or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I have thought and haven't ever pursued. But now that you have like this Inflation Reduction Act,
Right.
yada yada yada, there might be some federal dollars to support municipalities who want to throw solar on the roof. And
Right.
just going out and reading stuff, it's either one, we hit up Kathy at the good old Dane County office and see what she thinks, or we contact the Kelly in Middleton, because I think that she is all about this Inflation Reduction Act and like trying to get Middleton dollars. They're like wanting, because they put solar on a bunch of or a few buildings or whatever there. But I think Middleton initially was just like out of pocket doing that. And
Yeah.
but I haven't read maybe the last month of the Middleton Sustainability Committee stuff, but there's like always stuff like that in there.
So, okay. I wonder if, the IRA reference, I think, is exactly right. I think that might be the game-changing opportunity that would make it a viable option. And I wonder about, when we did the math a couple of years ago, we found that it was something like, it was going to require about 1 megawatt to power village operations, just village operations, and that would require like 3 to 5 acres, if I remember right, of land for solar. But if that, like, what about the possibility of putting solar on the library and putting solar on the new village hall and police department? And I wonder if we couldn't piece together enough solar on village buildings that would make it not necessary to use the land and the purchase of the land.
Yeah, that I don't know. I mean, I don't think that a building ever becomes completely self-sufficient on its own with just the solar on the roof of it, does it?
I think there's probably, I think that and we have things that we wouldn't like even if it could, and you're right, I think depending on what time of year potentially it could, but then there's still village vehicles that maybe eventually we'd want to electrify. There are other buildings that would require power that wouldn't have the right roofing structure to do that. Like thinking about like, I don't know, the public works building or the sewage treatment plant. But I am wondering about the ability of going a different route and trying to get as much solar on village buildings to rather than building out and trying to buy land, which is something we talked about, but we also decided that we couldn't find the you know the funding to do it, so maybe we should go a different route.
And there's other roof space too. There's private. You know, can you
Yeah.
give private you know, PI some sort of incentive? Latitude Graphics, the old Lands End building, it's a lot of roof space. I don't
Yeah.
know what it involves to install it, you know, especially on flat roofs.
Yeah.
Well, I know the old Land's End building, Latitude Graphics, has a big solar thing on the roof right now. They've already
Yeah,
Oh,
done
do
it.
they?
as well.
Yeah, they did a bunch before. I actually emailed Eric Padrud, and that would have been 2 or 3 years ago. He emailed me back and told me like how much it is, and like I can send that stuff back out to you guys if you want me to. It was like they put a bunch on there. I think working with MG&E, I think they even had space for more, and MG&E said that's enough. Like they like shut them down.
That's what they
Mhm.
did for PI too, I think. Is
Yeah,
that who you're talking? Yeah.
no, I'm talking about Latitude, but
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't
they
know
did
if
that
they,
for PI too.
yeah, because I know Bill Chang. I asked him about solar on PI, and he basically said whatever they have, they're having, they're done or something. Like they
Yeah.
weren't interested in adding any more now. Whether or not it's because it maxed out. If it maxed out, then that's why. But he was like, yeah, that's a no go.
Yeah, I remember asking Joe Vernig about that one time. And he was like, we put as much on as we could, and if we put on one more panel, we had to register as a utility.
Yeah.
That's the key point right there. They run a comp based on the bills or the expected energy usage, and they size those systems directly to that capability for that very reason. Because in other states, then there's buyback provisions of you're producing more energy than you're using, and it forces the utilities to buy that energy over what the usage is. And so there's an equation that they use to size those units appropriately to be as close to the usage as what they can anticipate it to be.
And here's I know it was from one of the Middleton sustainability packets that I read. Middleton registered itself to become, I don't know, I forget what it was, an agent or a voice MG on a what is it?
A navigator?
No. It was on an MG&E rate case. They
Oh, an intervener?
Yeah, or something like that. Because MG&E is filing a rate case right now where they want to get rid of net metering.
Oh, yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I just knew it because we don't get the state journal anymore. So I don't
Uh-huh.
know if that would have been in there, but I just know it because I read it in the Middleton sustainability thing, and it was like they became like, somebody who wants to make a big, and it's like they're like hiring an attorney to like fight that, like almost like it is like
Mhm.
I was like they're spending money to like try to stop this from happening. But yeah,
Alliant Energy, and what is the other one? The other big one in Wisconsin, Excel Energy, are all part of that.
are they all filing at the same
Oh,
time?
yeah.
like, for the net
They all
metering?
are.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
I have missed that. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm really glad you put that on my radar.
yeah, their whole thing is that it's gonna, if you can't net meter and you can't get paid back at what you're buying it at, then it
Then
kind
it's
of
not,
makes,
you can't pay for it.
it
People, yeah,
disincentivize it basically
right,
is disincentivizing residential solar.
right.
And I imagine, I don't know if that would affect businesses then as well and everything, or I don't know if businesses are allowed to net meter or how that works, but it definitely So yeah, that was kind of strange. I haven't followed up on that and seen like more on that or where it is in the process.
Hmm. Okay.
But yeah,
Um.
but from what I remember, like on the library, like when I did that analysis with how much it was producing, like it wasn't, you know, it wasn't covering the library's electric bills. Let me tell you that. Like what was going up there.
What could so you're saying what the roof could handle wouldn't cover the electricity bills?
Oh, no way. That
Yeah. Okay.
library. I mean, they're like just because. I mean, if the whole library was actually facing whatever that street is that runs east and west and had like a giant roof, it might be. But it was just kind of like that one corner because that's
Oh,
where it's
okay.
like right. That's where it's like right angled with the street because it veers back and because they put it on that corner like at an angle. Because in
Mm-hmm.
front of it they have that the the prairie like the prairie garden and all that.
Yeah.
So no, it wasn't anywhere near like its usage.
Okay.
I'll I'll try to find that report. I'll send it to you if you want to
Yeah.
see it.
That'd be helpful. I don't doubt you though, Michael, that was the ultimate um conclusion. I'm just I can't I can't believe that we keep hitting our head against the wall. It seems like so many other communities have figured out how to get solar in in a much bigger way. So I really I can't believe that we can't figure this part out. So
Melissa, can I just quickly interject a thought? Does Kathy, or in your experience working with her, maybe working at the county, did she do grants, or apply for grants on behalf of your organization, or because and the reason I'm asking is I was on a webinar yesterday, put on by the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. And one of the components of the new shared revenue legislation, was, or just the new budget bill, I think, was, an aspect of consolidating and sharing services amongst communities and organizations and things to maximize some of the incentive payments that these communities might receive. One of the communities mentioned how they were in the process of, talking about consolidating grant writing services with the county. And I was like,
mm,
so communities are working with the county to do grant writing? Like maybe that could be our in, and or maybe
uh-huh.
Kathy could be the person we partner with, get an
Mm-hmm.
incentive through the state or something, and have their energy department help write grants on behalf of the village to get us the solar that we're looking for.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't know for sure, Brian, but I do know that Kathy and through the I forget what it's called, but that network that she's helped stand up of communities like Green Bay and I think like Appleton and others, like part of their effort. I'm trying to remember who I talked to about this, but that they were trying to secure funding for a grant writer, I think, who could help them and help communities
Mm-hmm.
with like the technical assistance piece, but also some level of grant writing. So it might have been Kathy, or it could have been this network that she's helping to direct. She's wearing, I guess, a couple hats. Like she is, the Dane County office climate change office or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But through her role has also developed this network. And so either or both of those roles, I think it's totally within the realm of possibility. And there are a lot of like private foundations who are trying to figure out how to help municipalities do this. And it would be through people like Kathy to get, funds to networks like that and people who have the capacity like Kathy to then support municipalities. So
Okay.
yeah, totally. So I would say like, yeah, she's again, like she is the probably one of the best people that we can be connecting with right now.
Okay. Yeah, it was a thought. I mean, if they were talking about getting communities incentive payments for sharing services, and other communities are talking already about yeah, we're partnering with the county to do grant write. Okay, well, who's
Yeah,
the county and who's doing this? Because we don't have an on-staff grant writer that we can really partner with.
right.
Maybe we can reach out and say, what would it take for the village to establish a partnership to get some assistance on this front?
Brian, do you have Kathy's contact information?
Yeah, actually, I was
Okay.
communicating with her when we wrote. Actually, I was asking her about that EV charging program that the county was
Okay.
putting together, and did a letter of support for that initiative, and was trying to tell her this is something we're really looking to get established at the new village hall and police station. So please keep
Mhm.
us in mind in the future if you do get awarded funding for this
Cool.
initiative.
Okay. Cool. Um, Michael, I feel like this has been a really helpful conversation. I know you said you didn't know where to go, but every time we come back to this plan and kind of reground and be like, okay, where are the conversations now? What did we say we wanted to do, and what's the status? And this one is just so like pernicious. This solar, building clean energy for the village to use. Like this has been so challenging. So I wanted to come back here, but I'm happy to move off of this if there are other things that folks want to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know. Do other people have other line items in the plan that they're interested in that we need to talk about, should talk about? I do know the number 10, the replace village vehicles at the end of their life cycle with electric, hybrid, or alternative energy vehicles. Sounds like the police department isn't quite as against hybrid police cars anymore. There was something said at a village board meeting where sounds like they're actually being recommended now.
Huh.
So it sounded, because
Okay.
I know a few years ago Chief Tony was like looked into it and was like, oh no, they said they don't work well.
Uh-huh.
And I thought that they're the ones, right, Brian? Wasn't that right? That they're the ones
Yeah.
being recommended now?
Yeah, yeah. It seemed like and I don't know which communities had gone and switched over to them, but I think he had attended a conference beginning stage of this year, or first quarter or something, and the feedback was actually very positive from those people that spoke about their conversion to them, which kind of was, contradicting the maybe general consensus feedback on them up to that point. So I don't know if the technology is just advancing, it's getting better, more reliable, and now the newer versions that they've used in some of these communities are actually delivering, where the first versions maybe were struggling a little.
So I'm wondering about now, and we had one of these includes like developing a kind of a plan or a checklist to give to departments so that they like can make better decisions about, when it comes to sustainability issues. But as you talk about Chief Tony, I'm kind of curious about whether there's any utility in having a meeting with department heads, meeting with like Chief Tony, meeting with Jerry, I don't know who, meeting with, sitting down with a library and having like a 30-minute conversation and giving them a copy of the plan, um, just to keep it on folks' radars. Has that already happened? Does anybody know, like Brian, do you know if folks like that have seen the plan?
I earlier this year, or just 2 months ago, sent out our capital improvement plan memo and guide and worksheets for everybody to complete and send back to me, with an eye to adjustments for this budget year and or any additions for the subsequent next 3 years. And in that, I included the resolution that was passed by the board, including the aspects of the sustainability plan and initiative, and looking at those alternatives, and made a memo note of them to remind them any of your capital decisions like vehicles, you need to also put alternative recommendations and look at
That's
alternative
awesome.
options. So they have that. They all know. I've already just
That's
sent a
awesome.
second
Okay.
memo. Yeah.
I wonder if that, it seems like that's something we want to note in here because there is, I don't remember what line it is, but there is some line about that.
I recall that too, Melissa. I think if we scroll down a little bit, we're gonna hit it and it should get at least
Maybe it was
a
24.
yellow.
Yeah, develop a sustainability checklist formatted to the needs of each specific committee. I think what we intended there, if this isn't it, if this is it, is it was really about like departments and people who can make decisions about how money and resources are spent. And that seems to me like exactly how you would do that, Brian.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a note of that. We didn't exactly make a one-page checklist, but what we did do is,
And even
let's see.
number 17, which is prioritize energy efficiency and conservation in all new municipal purchases. Kind of, because if it's the capital plan, we're buying things.
Right, exactly.
It just feels like there's at least been a step forward. I mean, with what Brian just did,
Yep.
Well,
that
Brian, could you
needs
help
to be
us?
noted.
Yeah, Brian, can you help us note that? I want to make sure that I don't mischaracterize anything that you did there. So I started to write a status update, but you're probably the better person who can do that.
Which
Line
column?
24. I'm in line 24.
Okay.
And I'd say, yeah, that's at least a yellow.
Okay, I can go in after the meeting and type something in there for us.
Okay, that's great.
Or did you just type something in there, Melissa?
I started to, but I want Brian to, I think Brian would do a better job of capturing it. I don't want to mischaracterize it.
Oh, I gotcha.
Also, I'd say, I don't know that 17 is done, row 17. But seems like that's yellow-ish, the fact that we have we adopted we approved the energy audit resolution, then we actually did the audit, and then we now have a summary and that's been presented to the board. And I would assume we're gonna, keep chugging away on that too. So just kind of noting that there's been some good progress there too.
Definitely.
Is that worth an update in the status there? The fact that it went to the board? It sounds like to me it is. That
I
was a
think
pretty
so.
big deal.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think so. And I think at some point we should explore, just looking at the next one, a village-wide compost collection service and whether that's something we actually want to prioritize and how to explore that, or we should. I don't think we've ever had a conversation around that one. Does anybody have examples of who's doing that? I think Madison piloted it. I don't know if they're still doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I know like what you just said.
Yeah, the campuses, I'm pretty sure. I
Oh,
don't
the
know about
campus
the
does.
city. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
only place that I know that is doing that on a massive scale and successfully is Iowa State University. They are, it's the facility is huge, but again, what it started off with primarily, if it's not engineering, it's agriculture that they do. But yeah, they are doing it on a huge scale. And since they're a research institution, even though we're not in Iowa, I'll contact them and just say, you know, how do you do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be great. John, can we sign you up for that?
Sign
Do
me up
some
for that. I
outreach?
think I just said I would, so.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna note that research needed. I guess what it'd be helpful is to just document, John, that and then any other citywide examples that you can find that
Yeah.
we can then just learn more about and explore.
Well, that one kind of is citywide because Iowa State University is
Is the
Ames.
city.
That's, and I know that they bring the city in on it, so.
Okay. Do you say it's University of Iowa or Iowa University?
Iowa State.
Iowa State. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they even have a compost office of sustainability.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I'll get in touch with them.
Cool. That would be great. Okay. I don't know,
Yeah.
Michael, that feels pretty good. We
Yeah.
talked about a lot.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, does everybody feel good? Everybody know what's going on?
I feel great.
Feeling good.
Feeling
Feeling good. I just
good.
dropped a little link to what Madison is doing, UW Madison is doing as far as food waste.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
It looks like it's got some decent kind of background information too, which is kind of interesting. Talk about their trial, talk about digesters,
Oh, wow.
They have a
digester facility.
digester?
Apparently
Huh,
so. A new
interesting.
journey for the compost at UW Madison. Oh no, that's way back in 2018. Well, maybe it's still out there.
Wow, look at this.
Oh, you know what? Is that the one that's out on what is that road beyond Enchanted Valley? There's a couple digesters at a dairy farm out there. Forget what that's called. The one that ends up at the Middleton Recycling Center.
I
This
don't
looks
know.
a little different.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Wow. 10,000 tons per year.
Eesh.
All right, so anybody else have anything else? Is this a good meeting you guys want to call it?
Let's call it.
Good meeting.
Michael, do you or Brian, either of you, have you been tracking the next steps and who's doing what? Or do you guys all remember? I don't think I'm signed up for anything, so I'm worried that I forgot something. Michael, you're going to reach out to Bill about
Yeah.
what happened on that land on Airport Road.
I am, and I'm gonna email Jerry about what he thought about that focus on energy stuff for the water treatment plant.
Okay. And then Brian, you're going to reach out to Kathy Kuntz.
Yep.
Okay.
And
About
check with
federal
Becky about the newsletter. Yep.
and talk with Becky about the newsletter. John, you're going to do some research on composting citywide
Yep.
and get a
I will reach out to UW Madison and Iowa State. Set up a little competition.
And I'll reach out to John to make sure he reached out to those people.
Yes, and I'm not going to do it next week.
All right. Well, great. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, everybody.
Well,
Thanks,
sure.
everybody. Good meeting.
And
Do
if
we
there's
need a
anything,
motion?
and Melissa, if there's anything on here you want to just do, go for it.
Okay. Sounds good.
You know, be like, let's look at the plan.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay.
Do we need a motion or?
Yeah, we need a motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn at 7:10.
And Steve will second that.
Okay.
We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. We are adjourned.
All right. Thanks,
Night, everybody.
everybody. Talk to you
Everybody-
later.
Yep.
Everybody have a
Bye.
good night. Hey, Brian, can I